I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV Velocities and Music, two guys that grow red beards and listen to music often.
Yep, often at the same time. My beard is growing while I'm listening to music.
I find that my beard grows faster when I'm listening to music.
I find it grows faster when I'm listening to metal music.
That's damn right. It's damn right. This isn't really metal what we're going to review today. It's pop punk.
Yeah.
Pop punk. That's what I would generalize this. Say Anything's new record. I think it's their 6th record, Hebrews. Now, this is a big change. If you guys know anything about Say Anything, they are a rock band, just the general genre of rock, but for those of you who love your subgenres, definitely influenced by pop punk. And I would even call this, you know, there's a lot of emo influences here.
Post-hardcore
a little bit post-hardcore, especially in the vocals. This is, they're an LA band. They've been around, you know, they got famous and had their 2nd record, Is a Real Boy, got a lot of press, a lot of press. I remember I listened to that record back when I was in college, many years ago, and really enjoyed it, to be honest. That was just one I remember one summer listening to all the time. Very, you know, a lot, I wouldn't say like avant-garde artsy, but definitely just had kind of an artsy theatrical vibe to it. Guitars and other instruments and things like that. But the most notable thing about Say Anything's sound is the vocals. And Max Bemis, the frontman for this band, has just this flamboyant, kind of rash, harsh scream that he's like, it's not a scream, it's more like he's yelling. And it's raspy but yet he's still able to give melody with this raspy voice and be very flamboyant and passionate about the things that he's singing about. And I would say that where a lot of post-hardcore bands, their vocalist is providing that rhythm and just the intensity and not really any melody, I'd say that Bemis is actually providing a lot of melody here.
For sure.
Now, the big changes on Hebrews, there's really no guitar on this album. I'd say for the most part you can say they took the guitar out. But the foundation of this is strings and electric keyboards, and then very, very cymbal-driven, loud drum work, and then Max Bemis' vocals. Would you say that's an accurate description?
I would say that is the sound.
Bam! I nailed it! I nailed it!
So, now let's tackle that sound.
Let's do it.
That's something.
Don't tackle me, just the sound.
I won't tackle you. That would make for a weird video. So, that's what I want to talk about is the strings. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to talk about the strings. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as you tackle me later.
Okay, off camera. So, this is a point kind of contention for me, because I don't think it's inherently a positive or a negative thing to make this shift in sound. It's definitely noticeable, and it's inarguably unique, for sure. There's not much out there that sounds like this, but here's kind of where my beef with it is that it can go in one of two directions. You can either have the good side of this change, where you genuinely make a change in your sound, your songwriting style to match it, and it's just a whole new repackaging of Say Anything that sounds fresh. Or
Radiohead, OK Computer to Kid A.
Very much so. Or you can have the other side of it, where it sounds like they didn't change the songwriting to fit the new sound at all. They just kind of wrote an album like they normally would, and then said, oh, let's take the guitars and make them violins instead. And the thing is on this album, I feel like you get a mix of both. There are some tracks where I feel like they basically wrote them. And I can't verify this. I wasn't there for when they wrote or produced this album, I will say. Oh, okay. Well, why didn't I talk to you about this first? Jeez. But, I don't know exactly what they did. But some of these tracks, I get the impression that they wrote with electric guitar in mind, and then just said, hey, let's go ahead and make this violin instead. And to me, that's where it treads, it kind of crosses the line into gimmick rather than, like, actual, genuine, artistic, merit.
And I think that's a fair argument. I think that it really comes down to just execution. Like how well do and even if they did that, I mean, like, quite honestly, a lot of bands have chosen to go after a certain sound and then work to whittle away at that sound. That's what Radiohead did within Rainbows, which you don't like as much as I do. But I really like a more minimalistic sound that's very focused, where every single sound that you hear is more is just more purposeful and adds a lot of value.
There's not nearly as much distraction.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say that every single... I don't get the vibe, like, how on certain records you listen to them and you're like, yeah, every single thing that I heard was 100% intentional and in exactly what they wanted me to hear. I don't get that vibe here. This does feel... and Say Anything has never given me that vibe. This is a band that is all about that flamboyant, theatrical take on post-punk that's very unique. These guys have a niche that's just very specific and works well for the band. So it's it's kind of a, you know, like if they were going to go a more electronic direction, would they abandon a lot of like their core fan group or like what they've become known for? And I think it just really comes down to how well taking out the guitars, replacing them with, you know, more dominance in strings, specifically in keyboards, how well that works with the sound. Now, I personally think that it works quite well because this album is just much more theatrical than anything that they've ever done in the past. I mean, you know, Bemis's vocals are much more just sprawling and all over the place. He's singing later on in the album. He's singing a lot more, and I think that he's just a lot more passion is just coming out of the mix because it's not competing with the guitars. That's something I really like. Now, I would say that this album just starts off, and really the last few albums we reviewed have been like this. This album starts off very strongly. You have the opening track, John McClane, which is, you know, just it pretty much just or pretty much just shows that like a thesis statement to the album sound, and so like it's a good opening track just for that purpose. 666 has a very aggressive, upbeat pop punk chorus that I couldn't get out of my head. I really like that. We both picked track 3, Judas Decapitation. Just overall, just a great written song. A number of the tracks on the first part of this album are just really good, and then it gets up to Push, which is less rock driven, and it really focuses on you know, rhythm and that just passion in the vocals. There's one part on it where the whole song breaks down and Bemis just goes, push, push, you know, like that. Yeah. It's kind of like what I had to say to my wife when she was, you know, giving birth.
Oh, God. Oh, I don't want that image.
You have it now, though.
Oh, Jesus.
You have it.
Okay, well, yeah. Too bad this album hadn't come out yet.
No, I would have just played this song.
Boombox.
I wouldn't even had to have been there.
No,
I could have been watching the Super Bowl.
Max Bemis delivered my baby.
Yeah.
I got your back.
You did. You sure did. Nice work.
But you know, you touch on something there that I actually think it was a strong highlight of the album for. No. Skipping that part, going back another step to the lyrics. I think that actually the lyrics and the vocal delivery were great, and that's what made songs like Judas Decapitation stand out to me. I love in the beginning of that track when he just rips apart the indie scene.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he also fits in a lot of personal stuff in there. You know, his marriage, the fact that he just became a father, and you know, stuff that's going on in his life. And that kind of also then transitions into all the guest spots that he has on here. You know, he's married to you know, the singer from Isley, and then her sisters are on here, and then a lot of people from just other bands in the post-hardcore kind of you know, punk rock genre. You got Aaron Wise from Me Without You, the singer, I forget his name right now, I'm sorry, from Every Time I Die. Like, so many vocals, I can't fit them all in my head.
And it really just makes the vocals a key listening point to this album.
It does.
A lot of the female backing vocals really adds melody to the vocals, which I think is what helps this album, I think, succeed overall, because you're getting more melody out of it. I mean, it's just another way to transcend that boundary and help you relate to the music.
It's a variety, yeah, and also, you know, you mentioned that this is kind of a theatric album. You know, you have that very, you know, kind of not quite whimsical, but anytime you have violin like that, and you know, a lot of kind of fun background instrumentation, it brings that kind of vibe to it. And I think that all the guest vocalists help it feel more like a cast of characters, especially when he's talking about these personal struggles and triumphs and projections and things like that. I think it really makes it the full package a bit more. Now, for me, what held it back a bit was just classic track displacement. I didn't like the back half nearly as much as the front half, kind of a classic case of that, but also just comeback quality in general. While I appreciate what this album's doing artistically, and to jump back to what I said earlier, I feel like for the most part, it wasn't a case where they were just replacing guitar with violin. I think there were a couple tracks that I felt were a little guilty of that, but for the most part, it brings a different vibe, and I respect that unique quality. But at the same time, this is not an album that I feel compelled to really come back to. It's not one that I really want to listen to all the time.
Sure. There's a number of tracks on here that I would say I do want to listen to all the time. And overall, I felt like this album was a very original sound. I mean, you just don't hear a lot about this. And when I originally had heard about Hebrews and where Say Anything was going with their sound, and you know, the word, oh, they're going electronic. Yeah, but not in the sense that they're throwing like glitchy electronic melodies at everything and synthesizers. They're literally just taking keyboards and having just a nice keyboard, almost like Mates of state, like indie keyboards, like nothing too crazy on the MIDI keyboard range. You know, I just really like the presentation, and I think the general sound is just highly original. And I agree with you. I think that the front half of this album is clearly stronger. I think tracks just 1 through 7 are pretty good. I did like track 10 a look. I thought it was just one of the poppier tracks on the album, but it had a great chorus and got stuck in my head. But I didn't ever feel like any of the songs on the back half of the record were truly weak. I just didn't like them quite as much.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
So it's not like, to me, like there was this monumental difference in quality, or really that there was anything that was just god-awful about any of these tracks. I just happen to prefer some of the tracks more, and those happen to be on the front half of the album. I always prefer a back-heavy album. This one was a bit front-heavy, so who knows if they would have rearranged the track order a little bit more. Maybe I would have liked it more, but I think I'm still going to settle on an 81 for this record.
We're going 73.
So, a little bit of a disagreement from us. 77 overall, which is right on our average line. And we're not saying this album is average. We're saying that out of all the albums we reviewed, it's on the bell curve. So, at the top of the bell curve, which means we would probably recommend it overall, but not something that we're overly in love with. What did you guys think about Say Anything's change in sound in their absence of guitars on Hebrews? Please, leave us a comment. Let us know your thoughts at www.velocitiesandmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesandmusic. As always, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and let us know if there's any records from any time ever that you'd like to see us review on this channel. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.